Council of Australia will today put forward its plan to fix Australia's housing crisis, claiming the Albanese government is 64,000 homes behind per year on its target.
It comes as the opposition puts forward its $5 billion plan to boost supply, and the Victorian government eyes more affluent suburbs for high-density development. Our political reporter Oliver Gordon is at Parliament House for us. Ollie, good morning. So housing is still dominating the agenda in Canberra. What's outlined in this Business Council report?
Good morning, Michael. Yes, absolutely still dominating the agenda. Basically, the Business Council of Australia is saying for us to reach this target of 1.2 million homes by the end of the decade, we need to be building 64,000 extra homes per year until the end of the decade. It's recommended the setting up of a $10 billion housing fund, basically to incentivise states to get their planning and regulation blockages out of the way. It's also recommending phasing out the stamp duty tax. Bran Black, who's the CEO of the Business Council of Australia, labelling it a horrible tax that's stopping Australians getting into a home, basically referring there to downsizers or people who are empty nesters looking to move to a smaller home. They're facing the prospect of a quite large upfront tax cost with stamp duty. The recommendation to change that to an ongoing land tax to avoid that big upfront cost. Also recommended in this report more money for apprentices and also changes to the migration system so that those in-demand trades can have a fast track to permanent residency. This has been a really big week, really, for housing policy and debates around it. This all kicked off when we saw news that the Prime Minister is looking to buy this $4.3 million home on the New South Wales Central Coast. We then saw an intervention from the Greens suggesting that changes to negative gearing and capital gains tax would be a really good fix to the housing crisis, or at least get more people from renting into home ownership. We saw the government basically say that's not on their agenda at the moment. And then over the weekend, Michael, a pretty major announcement from the Coalition, a $5 billion fund to incentivise councils and developers to get the power, sewerage and access roads, those critical infrastructure needs, built to increase supply of housing. So housing continuing to dominate. We're seeing this shaping up as a key issue, Michael, with the federal election not too far away.
Not too far away indeed, and in about 10 minutes we'll be joined by the Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen to speak about her housing plan. Ollie, thank you so much.
Well, well-wishers will be out and about in the nation's capital today, hoping to catch a glimpse of King Charles and Queen Camilla as they continue their visit to Australia. Monty Bovell joins us now from the Australian War Memorial in Canberra. Good morning, Monty. What is the plan today for the Royals?
Well, morning, Bridget. We know that the Royals are spending much of their Australian trip in Sydney this time around. Well, yesterday we saw them attend a church service as well as a visit to the New South Wales Parliament. But today is Canberra's day. Certainly there is a very tight schedule here, jam-packed with a bunch of activities for the Royals here today. No surprise there at all because there is plenty on offer here in Canberra, but they are only scratching the surface of various different activities here in the capital. So they'll arrive in the capital later this morning, then they'll make their way here to where I am at the Australian War Memorial. They'll take part in a wreath-laying ceremony before they'll come out into the gardens of the memorial, where there'll be a chance for the members of the public to greet the royal couple and to say hello. Then they'll be making their way across Lake Burley Griffin here in Canberra to the other side of the city to Parliament House, and that's where they'll be receiving a ceremonial welcome from the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese as well as Governor-General Sam Mostyn. There'll be also a second chance for members of the public to greet the royals at Parliament House. If members members of the public are attending these two events at the War Memorial and Parliament House, they're being urged to get there with plenty of time. There are a lot of road closures around Canberra today. Once they're down at Parliament House, there is a range of activities that are planned for the afternoon. As I said, it's a very tight schedule. That involves a trip to Government House, as well as a tour of the National Botanical Gardens. There's also a trip for the King to the CSIRO to talk about the impact of bushfires, and Queen Camilla will be attending a session with domestic violence advocates, as well as meeting with members from the organisation Govt. She's a patron of that organisation, and that helps distribute donations to charities around the country. So, Bridget, as you can tell, a very packed schedule for them here in Canberra today. They'll head back to Sydney after they're done here, and there'll be some more chances for members of the public in Sydney to greet them tomorrow.
A lot on today for the Royals. Thanks for taking us all through it. Monty Bogle in Canberra.
The federal court is expected to hand down a decision today on compensation for Qantas workers who were illegally sacked. The High Court found the airline acted illegally when it sacked 1,700 ground crew during the pandemic. The jobs of baggage handlers and cleaners at 10 airports were instead outsourced, with Qantas blaming the decision on financial losses.
ACT Labor has been returned to government for the 7th consecutive term. The Canberra Liberals have won at most 10 seats in the 25-seat Legislative Assembly. Labor has likely won 10 and can't win a majority, but will be able to form a governing coalition. The ACT Greens are on track to win at least 2 seats, while 2 are likely to go to independents.
The final week of the Queensland election campaign is underway, with the opposition leader David Crisafulli proposing a minimum isolation period for young people in detention centres who assault prison guards. The Premier, Stephen Miles, says mandatory isolation would not prevent crime. Both leaders will be in Brisbane tomorrow for the final leaders' debate of the campaign.
The UN peace envoy for the Middle East has condemned continued attacks on civilians in Gaza. The Gazan Health Ministry says a total of 87 people have been killed or are missing under rubble following an Israeli strike in the north of the Strip. An Israeli official disputes that number, saying the death toll is exaggerated.